Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings King Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby. We're really excited actually to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of the Huddle. Coach, yes, all right.
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real Portland live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards of Hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
Yes, I swear, man, that last part is too funny, man.
I feel like I'm gonna have to repeat it again today, but
Yeah, I think you might.
We're there again.
We're gonna do a lot of that. I think we're gonna do a lot of that today from all of us. So it's gonna be pretty funny, man. Welcome back to the Six Rings Kane. So Larry Bluestein, Vish, we are. Sans Danny Gillette as he, I think after the game he threw his laptop out the window.
Yeah, the ninth turnover you didn't see was his computer.
Yeah. So he'll be back on with us this weekend for pre and post game.
Well, I don't think we're doing pre and post game, right? You're gonna be
I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna be out of town, so
I'm gonna actually be at the game. So
you're gonna be at the game, Blue. If you want to do pre and post, man.
By myself, okay.
No, with probably with Danny. We'll figure that one out.
We'll
figure I usually produce it too, though. So
and it's not because listen. I know fans are gonna think, oh, these guys are starting to quit on themselves. No, man. It's just
how can they accuse me to quit? I'm going to the damn game.
You're going to the game.
I'm not quitting. It's the opposite. Listen, I'm spending more money on this trash heap right now. So.
I know, and I gotta do this. If not, I might get kicked out of the house. So, before we get it going, let's give a shout out to our sponsors there, and that's Manscaped, always showing us love. Make sure you guys check them out on Manscaped.com. They're the leader in below the waist grooming. Is making sure we have we have a ball this summer. I'm sorry, this summer, this fall, and this winter.
Always summer in Miami, so it's
dive in.
Yeah,
no kidding, right? It's true. So dive head first into smooth sack summer. Then but make sure you guys go to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with our code. It's 5RSN. So it's the number 5 and then the letters RSN, like 5 Reasons Sports Network. 5RSN gets you 20% off plus free shipping and handling. Things like the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has everything you need to prepare. Inside the package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, crop preserver ball deodorant, crop reviver toner, performance boxer briefs. If you get that 4.0 package, they bring you some pretty cool briefs and a travel bag, a little travel bag that I got here. Look, I'll show. I got it right here. Boom, there it is.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really cool little travel bag. So you can put all your good stuff in there. Make sure you guys go to manscaped.com. Check them out. Put in the code 5RSN to get 20% off plus free shipping on all your orders. Check them out, manscaped.com. So obviously we kind of went over it ad nauseum, it feels like, on Saturday. Another debacle another debacle at the Rock is what I like to call it. But Duke came in and put a hurting on us, man. And completely dominated the game. Well, I wouldn't say completely dominated the game because I think that the first quarter to the first, even a little bit into the second quarter, looked like Miami was doing some good things and moving the ball up and down. Then it just kind of fell apart for us a little bit. So,
we talked about this on the pregame that Duke's entire team relies on forcing turnovers, and if you protect the ball, you're probably going to win. And boy,
boy, were we right.
I mean, I hate the only time I've been right this entire year was that time. Go figure.
Oh man!
No, in particular,
they
were already the best team in the country at forcing and recovering fumbles, and now they probably have it for the year without even having to force another one after that debacle.
For sure.
But that should have been, and you could see the way that they were coached. First guy wrapped, second guy was ripping on every single tackle, and we didn't protect the ball.
Shout out.
2 minutes in, I said, wow, people need to listen to Vish and I more often. I mean, we probably told you what was going to happen before it happened. So.
Oh yeah, big shout out to Rob, Les, and Pimp Down on the chat already. We'll definitely answer some questions. Rob writes in the chat, in Mario we trust. We need to get rid of all these soft players and fans and make Gaddis accountable.
I want to talk about Gaddis because I feel like I'm on an island here.
No, I don't know. I don't know if you are. Before you even say something, right?
Yeah,
at the end of the day, like, this is on the players and on the coaches, both. Okay, and we can criticize because that's what we're here to do, man. We're here to criticize, and we're also here to celebrate when they do stuff right. Okay, and I'm not saying that Gaddis. Look, I think I'm with you. I don't know, Vish, if this is what this is the sentiment you're going after, but I don't think Gaddis is terrible. I'm not on the fire Gaddis bandwagon that he just doesn't know how to call plays, and I think that's completely wrong. I think if you see the actual game and you notice what's going on offense, you see that a lot of the times, a lot of the stuff that he's calling is open, and they're just not executing plays, right? So I'm gonna go. Yes, has he made some bad calls in the red zone and on some certain plays, like on fourth down, but it could go either way, right? Because at the same time, you can say, why did he call that run play on fourth down, or why did he do that when? And then the other side, you can be like, oh my God, how can we not just we can't even get 1 yard, right? So like it's a little bit of both sides. However, yeah, you got to hold them all accountable, and I totally get that, Rob.
Yeah, I think hold them accountable, but I feel like there's been a complete shutdown on. Well, first of all, there's two things going on. One of which annoys the hell out of me, which was pretending like last year was some kind of like walk in the park, and we all were very happy with the way the program was. Because I think part of Gaddis is not Lashley, and everyone fell in love with Lashley, so now he's being blamed for that. Guess what? We couldn't pick up a yard in short yards last year either. So I don't know what game there. That was like our biggest complaint. Why can't we get a yard? We still can't get a yard.
Yep.
The other. So I feel like there's that blame going on. Same thing with Mario. They're like, whoa, Manny Diaz could have done this. Like, don't make me go back through all of the crap Manny Diaz did. Like, seriously, I don't want to have that conversation. But stuff like subbing a quarterback into a bowl game who would quit the team and just come back because they asked for it on Twitter. You want that guy back? Like, what are we talking about? Like, seriously. Someone needs to just take a deep breath there. But also, like, what I've seen from Gaddis is he has adjusted his playbook multiple times now. What do you want a coach to do? Seriously. He's not like locked as like, I'm my way or the highway. Everyone's complaining he ran in short yardage. We tried first drive. We went for it on fourth and short. Went the quarterback sneak. We didn't get it. It looked like on the replay. They gave us a good spot, and we got the first down off of it. Like, that easily looked short. We threw a touchdown. Second drive, we definitely got that first down. They gave us a bad spot, missed it by like this. And they're complaining he ran on that, didn't sneak. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Then in the third quarter, when we threw it on fourth and short and they dropped an interception, like, what play do you want him to call? He's called a quarterback draw, a handoff, and a throw. And they don't work because we stink. Like, I don't know what, like, it's just, I've seen him simultaneously being criticized for throwing too much, for not throwing enough, for stealing Lashley's plays, and that's the only reason Van Dyke started playing well, for not running Lashley's plays. I'm just like, are you all out of your minds? Like, and the bottom line is the offensive line is very injured, and it wasn't good to begin with.
Right.
We can't block. Some of those blitzes were mental busts. Some of them, one of them, in the second, was I think it was the last drive of the first half when Garcia got sacked. The right guard, who was playing for the first time in his career, just got smoked. We had the guy in position. They blitzed the linebacker. He ran right around him, up the middle, and sacked the quarterback. I was like, "What?"
And by the way, they're not running anything exotic. It's straight up. They're putting a guy in the box. They're rushing. They're blitzing. and we couldn't stop it.
And I know, so
that's a
like
problem.
I think everyone's just like upset that the offense isn't as good as it should be, which is fair. But then they're going straight to the play clock. There's systemic problems up and down this thing, and like there's not plays. There's not like some magic play we can call that's going to work.
Right.
And the other thing, like I mean, this should be and the other problem I have is it's total confirmation bias. Everyone starts booing when on that last drive of the first half he ran 3 times to get the first down. That drive ended with Garcia throwing an interception.
Right.
He knew he had to protect his backup quarterback. He's trying to do that. It's not the starting quarterback anymore. And we saw that in the fourth quarter when we're down 10, he has to start throwing. He starts throwing picks. Like, he was not, and what you can maybe criticize the coaches for not having the backup more ready to play. But he knew I cannot run that same offense and wing it all over the place with the backup quarterback. He's not ready for that, and he showed it.
Right.
Like, some of this, like when, I don't know, like this team's just not good. And I think we go right to the coordinator and be like, because we've all played too many video games. It's just like, why don't they call the play though? It's not how it works. Like, we can't block.
Blue, I got a question for you just on this note also, and just kind of segueing a little bit to what some of the fan base and other people just in general, whether it's the national pundits or it's local people or it's fans. I think that there's a real big disconnect with this whole notion that, hey, Manny would have won with this team and those players, and why is Mario having such a hard time with this team and with this players? And obviously we'll get into it further, but I think obviously you answering this question, like, to me, people don't understand, and maybe you can kind of clarify this. Mario Cristobal is playing with 90% of that team is a team that Manny Diaz handpicked, right? These are his players, right? So now you're talking about having those guys have to buy in to Mario Cristobal's culture, to Mario Cristobal's way of doing things. Of course, Manny Diaz might have won with this team because this is Manny Diaz's team, right? So maybe, yeah, they would have won against Duke. Maybe they would have done some things different, right? It's a completely different mentality than what Mario Cristobal is bringing. So, of course, all the players are not going to fall in line. This is 90% of the team. And then you're noticing that the other 10% are the transfer portal guys that Mario came in to win with. And what are those guys doing? Playing really good football. The best players on this team are your transfer portal guys. So talk to me about this whole notion of Manny would have won this game, and why do we have the same record, and why are we worse this year than we were last year?
Well, first of all, I want to say hello to Bill, who's in Houston, and he's listening to us.
Bill, what's up, buddy? Thanks for joining.
Just texted us and just said that he and his boys are listening. Big Hurricane fans.
I'll make sure I don't cuss if you got your boys around, man.
Frustrated Hurricane fans. But let's answer your question. First of all, Manny wouldn't have won. His roster is awful. This is a very bad roster. I mean, let's face it. And then you lose some key guys. The only reason they would have been in any games because they had playmakers last year. Those playmakers are gone.
And by the way, Rhett wouldn't have been there this year anyways because he's the head coach at SMU. So
exactly. And not only that, I mean, you would have – I mean, and the one thing I've reiterated no matter who I've talked to, I can fully understand the way Miami fans feel. I mean, they've been running around the block 1,000 times, and they have a right to be angry. But when they step back and understand that this is the best oh boy, how can I put it? This is probably the best start for a head coach as far as what he's brought in, what he's meant to the team out of anybody, Rick, anybody. Because Mario Cristobal, when he came in there, didn't sugarcoat things. He said, listen, we're going to do our best to try to turn this thing around. It's going to take a couple of years because we got to get our people, aboard. And this is not an excuse. This is a fact. I'm sorry. I mean, if you can't deal with the fact that Miami's roster right now is not good anywhere. I mean, you don't have a position where you can say, well, that guy's the best in the country. And he's where? Running game is disintegrated. Offensive line, as Vish said before, you take away somebody like a Nelson, who was the only guy that really had accolades, and everyone goes, he's a first-round draft pick. Okay. Receivers that really don't make plays. Kobe Young is starting to do some things. But that's what I'm saying, guys. The one thing that I look at on this team is, and Vish alluded to it before, you can only put these kids in the position to make plays. The coaches can't make the plays. So for you to come down and all of a sudden, all I'm reading is, oh, man, Gaddis is overrated. If it wasn't for offensive linemen, he would have been horrible at Michigan. What? I mean, and I'm thinking to myself.
I think that applies to everybody in the country.
Yeah. And then I read Steele's 78 years old. He doesn't what? I mean, come on. I understand the frustration. And there's going to be a lot more finger pointing, because if Miami's favored in any game the rest of the year, I'd be really surprised. And why would they be? Why would they be? I was surprised they were even favored the last two.
I've been pulled up. We're favored against Virginia, aren't we?
Is it a push?
I don't know. I'm going to pull it up, but I have a feeling we're
pull
favored.
it. I got to know that.
I mean, but this is my point. This is going to be a year, and I posed this to our buddy Alex Dono. I said, in 2 years from now, we look back and go, gosh, we were horrible back in 22. I mean, we didn't have any playmakers. We didn't have any depth. And that's what's happening right now. I mean, these coaches, if you're blaming the coaches, then you really don't know football. I mean, come on. I mean, what these coaches are getting now, Vish, are it's like being an ex. If you date a new girl, you're always going to carry the baggage of what your ex was about. And that's what's happening. Everybody's comparing these guys to somebody else. Listen, I'm not going to say anything about Manny or his staff, but they were horrible compared to what you have now. Really. I like Garen Justice. I always said I'd go to bat for him. And I always like, a couple of the other guys. But please, don't insult intelligence when you got proven coaches. They're coming in and taking over a program that really has not a lot of talent. So they're doing what they can to set the table. And I think over the next 2 years, and I'll guarantee it, okay? I'll guarantee that in 2 years from now, we'll be playing for an ACC title. 2 years. But right now, you just can't. You can't figure that. And that's why I laughed at the beginning of the year when everyone, we're going to win 10 games, and then with a bowl game, we're going to win 11 games. On what basis? On what basis? There was nothing that really dictated your void of talent at linebacker. You had really one guy coming back that had any experience in Corey Flagg. You're relying on a freshman. And to me, that brings up my point. Talking to some of the recruits, they're licking their lips, buddy. I mean, guys.
Some of them can't wait to be on campus.
They can't wait to be here. Nathaniel Joseph will come in here, and by the spring, he'll be right in the mix. He'll be right in the mix. I mean, let's face it. The talent that you have on this team, and I'm not saying this is the whole team, but for a majority of this team right here, I don't think Mario would have recruited these guys. I really, there were Streppos, yes, and Tyler, yes, but even Tyler coming out of high school, they could have took a shot at him. He's from like an area where the competition.
I think he played 7-on-7 football.
Right. It was average, and I always thought he was more of a baseball product because I interviewed him and talked to him a little bit. I mean, but Jake Garcia was somebody that fell on their lap, because I can guarantee right now, if California played football that year and he didn't leave Whittier, he wouldn't have been here. He wouldn't have gotten to Georgia. He wouldn't. So things kind of fall into place because they have to. I mean, you got a great kicking game, but you know what? For years, Miami's always had guys that can boot the ball, punters, kickers, and stuff. Jeff Fiegels, all these other guys. But my point here is people are reliving last year and the years before. Last year, I mean, look at the last 2 years. And both of those receivers, Osborne's playing for Minnesota now and doing pretty well. Then you got somebody like a Rambo who's, I mean, he was a guy. Remember this. If Oklahoma didn't recruit 6 5-star receivers, he still would have been there. He wasn't asked to leave. He left on his own because of the fact that he figured, well, my playing time is going to be limited. Wasn't that he was bad or anything like that. He was really good. And they caught fire that somebody like a Harley finally learned how to catch the ball in his senior year. He was horrible for the first 3 years. He couldn't catch anything. And we gotta be upfront and be truthful. What's going to happen now is you're going to get guys that are going to be developed. Miami's players haven't been developed the last 20 years. They really haven't. They've and you look at Sam Shields and you look at Chantrell Henderson. These are two guys that had way better NFL careers than they did at Miami. So that's what I'm saying. You've got kids that are going to be coached up, and I'll put my reputation on the line that 2 years from now we'll be sitting here. This is a whole different tune we'll be singing. The roster next year will between who they bring in at freshmen and a couple of portal kids that are going to come in, because don't think that this scares anybody away. It doesn't. No. It will attract them. And
I'll tell you who it is going to scare away, and this is exactly what needs to happen. Here's players on this team now. I mean, you're going to see a mass exodus.
See ya.
And people don't realize that. I think some people don't understand that, and that's fine, right? I mean, listen, this is what Mario needs to do. He needs to change. He needs to completely change this roster.
Right.
And Blue, you mentioned something, right? You mentioned this whole roster is not bad, but there's a majority of it that is not playing to the level that Mario Cristobal wants it to play. And even some of the really good ones, right? Because, for everything, for all the stuff that we say, well, James Williams is not tackling well, and all he does is use his shoulder. You know that he's talented. I mean, if he wasn't talented, Alabama and Clemson and all these teams wouldn't have been coming after him like they did when he was playing in American Heritage, okay? Right. He's not a bad player, but right now he's not playing well. He really is not, and he'll tell you that himself. So, the fact that, we have some of those talented players on here, it doesn't really matter, because the thing is, at the end of the day, this is a football team. And if you're not playing as a team and you got some guys you've got, I think Flo mentioned it, if you got like 11 guys on the field, right? You've got 11 guys on the field at one time, and you've got 4 or 5 of them that are not buying in, that screws up the other 5 or 6. That's just the bottom line. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's probably what, Jess, to your point, I think that's what I underestimated.
Right.
How many of these kids, given a fresh start, a new opportunity with, as Blue mentioned, look at the quality of staff here. Just at their resumes. You can all criticize what they're doing right now.
Right.
Look at the resumes on the staff. Like, give me a break, right? This is like, these kids went from getting, frankly, coached by the head coach as defensive coordinator because he couldn't find anyone to coach the defense, like to having Charlie Strong just doing linebackers. And I assumed they would not stare this gift horse in the mouth, and I was wrong.
Right.
Like, I assumed buy-in, frankly, I'm naive on my part, buy-in would be automatic. Like, who would piss this opportunity away? Apparently a lot of them. Right. And we're seeing that. And I do want to talk a little bit about Les's question too on the defense, because I think, a lot of this, you mentioned James Williams, like, use your arms when you tackle, buddy. Like, it would help a lot of these problems go away. He's in position to make a lot of these plays, and he's throwing his shoulder in. And that's not the way you tackle. And I don't know what's going on there. But I think one of the things
that's a thing that, you're just not listening to what's being taught, right?
Well, I don't know what's going on. I'm not there. So, obviously no one's telling him, don't use your arm, just throw a shoulder, and that's the way to tackle. Like, no one's doing that. So, of course, something's off there. But I also, to point Blue was making, Jesse, you were making as well, there are kids on this team that are there right now that are going to form. Yeah, we're going to get new kids in, and we're probably going to hit the portal that don't want to put up with this. But some of these kids are going to form those building blocks. And I've seen a lot of this, like, just throw the young kids in there. That's not necessarily a good thing. Not earning playing time is a good way to ruin people, right? Just like, the other guys aren't doing well, just throw you in there. No, make them earn the spots. They'll be better for it. And also, if they're not ready to play it, you rush a kid out there, that's a good way to ruin him.
Oh, yeah.
So I understand there's this desire to, like, get all these guys out of here. I've seen them play for 2 and 3 years. They're not good. That's not necessarily going to help the young kid get better. Playing time is not always a good thing if you're not ready. Bad experience matters too. We've ruined kids before rushing them out there too quickly. So, again, this is going to be a painful season. We're going to there's 5 more of these games. We're going to have to sit through them.
Well, someone asked Coach Cristobal in the presser, I believe, that some of the guys weren't playing hard or whatnot, and this kind of goes to what Fernie is saying in the chat now as well. Saying that those are some of the players that need to go. New age kids want to lay the and new age kids want to lay the boom instead of just do their job. Yeah. So look, and my thing is that Mario said it right. He's like, well, if there's guys that aren't playing hard, then they're not going to be here very, very long, right? And I'm going to be honest here. And Larry, you probably know, you probably know Coach Cristobal better than any of us, right? He's going to give it to you straight. He's never sugarcoated anything. He's not about BS. If you're not Miami caliber, he's going to tell you might have a better opportunity to enter the transfer portal and
No
go
doubt.
somewhere else. And
No
I
doubt.
guarantee you, he's going to have a lot of those conversations with a lot of these players when the season comes to an end. It is what it is, and you see it. You see it.
And he'll have valid ammunition because he'll say, listen, we just came off a season. This was basically an audition season for a lot of you guys, to show, that you could step up. But look at how many guys that everybody cried for Miami to get. And I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a lot of local kids. Oh, we got to get that guy. We got to get that guy. No, those guys aren't doing anything. And you know what? They're given opportunities. As Vish said, we're not at practice, so we don't know. And that's one of the things that Alex Dono and I talked about. All these people are talking about who should be in there. We talked about Thad Franklin, and I've come to probably the opinion that he's not getting it done in practice. He's maybe for one reason or another, he's not giving all the effort because there's no way on this earth would somebody like a Mario Cristobal sabotage his program and not play the best player. So evidently, he is not doing things that they need, and he may be gone. You know what? He's and I love the guy, but if there's something that he's not fitting into here, he'll be a great back at Wisconsin. He'll get his 26 carries for 200 yards, and that's the way he is. He's a big back like that. Miami's offense might not be suited to what he's about, but there's no other reason why he's not playing. Inside the 20s, there should be no other player but 22. Sorry, short yardage, no other player but 22. What you're doing is you're dancing your little backs around, and your offensive line's getting pushed back. And once they get pushed back, they got no shot. How many times did Duke's defense dial up something that pushed this reminds me of 2 years ago when they played Pittsburgh, and Cameron Harris would get the ball 5 yards deep. And as soon as he got the ball, somebody from the other team was right there, 5 yards deep. So that's what's happening now. Miami's offensive line is not even average. They have a couple of guys like Rivers and people like that are playing. But I watched some of those offensive line. I looked at every single one of them play, against Duke's defense. And, Duke dialed up some great plays. You got to give them credit. I don't care what I think the average fan views Duke as, oh, they were awful and we used to beat them. They're not like that anymore.
They're not awful.
Yeah, they're not awful. Their quarterback is as good as anybody that Miami will play against. He was smart.
Oh, yeah.
He did things. Their coaching staff. See, here's the difference. Their coaches will put them in the position, just like Miami's does, but they'll make the plays. Miami doesn't make the plays. And when, like Vish and I were talking, I think we were so adamant in the pregame about we can't afford to give them anything else. They got a better team right now. They got 3 good running backs. They got a quarterback. Their offensive line was senior oriented. You don't need to give them any excuses. And here you go. Pop it down there, and then you make a mistake. And you give them the ball right down there to even the game, and then everything kind of unraveled, and they did it again, and they did it again. And Miami looks – and I think the first thing, guys, that everybody wants to point to is coaching. As soon as, oh man, that mistakes, that's on the coach. They can't be making those mistakes. That's on the coach. No, all I can say is this coaching staff or any coaching staff could draw up a play and say, listen, you got to be right here. And if he's right there and he doesn't make the play, how could that be on the coaching? You can only do what you can, because when you get better talent, watch how everybody's opinion changes. All of a sudden they go, well, now because you got better personnel. Personnel means everything. You can coach people up to a certain point. But if that average talent's not making plays, then I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Nick Saban. I don't care who it is. Nick Saban doesn't have a great roster. Oh, well, Nick could say, no, you can't. You can't get anything more than out of these kids than you're getting now. That's my 100% truth, my feeling about that. Vish, when you take a look at it, how much more can you get out of these players. If they're turning the ball over, they're making stupid penalties. I mean, you're doing what you can.
And to your point, like, I mean, there was one run. This was after we I can't remember. It was after we had like turned it over on downs it was after the fourth down where they dropped the interception.
Right.
That first play on that next drive, our defensive call was perfect. We had 4 guys in position to tackle in the backfield. He just cut through and ran for like 25, 30 yards. I'm like, what's the coach supposed to do there? You got everyone in position.
How could that be on coaching? But
Jazz rejoins us. Yeah, I mean, we're getting enough players in position. You know what triggered a thought in my head? So on that fourth down, this is the biggest play of the game because we're still up. It was that long drive they had. They had 4th and goal on like the 2. And they had a perfect play call, and they called that shovel pass.
Yeah.
Because we were all keen on the quarterback, right? And I'm like, not only is that great play call, like, if we called that, we would have dropped the shovel pass. I'm 100% sure we would have dropped it. It would have been a complete pass if it was the shoe was on the other foot.
Yeah.
But, like, that's just – you got to sometimes tip your cap to the other team. I think the disappointing thing was the turnovers, and we imploded. Yeah. But, like, we talked about in the pregame, Blue. They were solid. They do a lot of things. They're not, like, amazing at anything, but they're just very fundamentally sound, do a lot of things good, not great. And if you give them turnovers and make mistakes, they will kill you for it. And we did that time and again. So we just saw that.
They did.
Saw that on the field. And like I said, I could imagine just calling that shovel pass at the tight end, just dropping it. Just be like, oh, God, we dropped the ball. It's just like you can see that like a million times, like just clear in my head. And they caught it, ran through some tackles and got in. It's just, yeah, we're not there yet. The other thing, though, I think it's just, we're looking at this at like, well, this guy could do better. Or that guy could, like, the whole team is just not there yet. And it's going to be a struggle. We're going to suffer through it. We're also, I mean, this is not an excuse and certainly not an excuse for losing to Middle Tennessee, but the number of injuries we've had at this point is pretty unbelievable, especially on the offensive line. Like our running game should have like 3 more running backs and 4 more linemen involved that are there right now. And that's hard to overcome. When we weren't a deep team at all, our best running back couldn't crack the depth chart at Ole Miss last year. Like, you got to think about where we are from a talent perspective. And then you add injuries to that. Like, this is not.
Well, I don't know about that because he was pretty damn good at Ole Miss too. Henry Parrish ran it for over 500 yards at Ole Miss, and all 3 of them
cracked the depth chart, but he wasn't the starting running back. He was on the depth chart.
They rotated 3 guys. He was
on the depth chart.
Let's give him a little credit. He was pretty damn
He was
good.
on the depth chart. You happy?
And he was Mr. By the way, he was Mr. Florida football when he was here.
I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying that's our starting running back and probably our until recently, I think undoubtedly our best offensive player. And he came in as a transfer.
Yep. But that just tells you, right? That just tells you a lot about Coach Cristobal and this team, where we're at as a team, right? Who's your best defensive player right now? It's Akeem Mesidor, probably, right?
Yeah. Or Cam, one of the other.
Or Cam, but Akeem Mesidor, if you can name your top 4 players on defense right now, it's Akeem Mesidor, it's probably Darrell Jackson. I would probably still throw in Corey Flag. He's having a good year, man. I'd still probably throw him in there. And
because if I bring him up, you'll get, hey, that's your guy. So I'll let you bring him.
Hey, no. Listen, we're all convinced that he's had a pretty decent year this year. And he's playing hard, man. He's a guy that's definitely bought into the program and has developed and gotten better at what he does. But then Cam Kitchens and maybe even a guy like Daryl Porter, right? Those are your 4 or 5 guys that have been your best players on defense. And out of those 4 or 5 guys, 3 of them, at least 3 or 4 of them, are transfer portal guys. And
even if you throw Tyreek in there, he was a portal guy last year.
He was a portal guy too, right? But so I mean, he wasn't. He's the guy that comes in, the SEC player. So I get it, And then on the offensive side of the ball, who's your best player, right? Aside from TVD, it's Kobe Young, and Kobe Young is a transfer portal guy as well.
Yeah.
Obviously he's a junior college kid, but he's a transfer portal nonetheless. So I think that you got to put all of that into perspective. You got to understand that and again, this is not to say that it's all on the players. Coaches have some blame. You have to, right? You have to say that, they're responsible, or they have to take accountability for certain things as well, whether it's some of the play calling by Josh Gaddis in the red zone, whether it's some of the play calling by Kevin Steele on some of those 4th and longs and 3rd and longs that have converted, whatever the case is, right? you got to put it on both, because at the end of the day, these are the coaches that are preparing these kids to be successful on the field. But again, the players have to execute on the field, and if you're not doing that, as SoCal Canes mentioned, right? Like, the coaches are not telling the kids to commit penalties, turnovers, and blown assignments. They're not, but these coaches have to get them prepared as well, and
Yeah,
they
I
have
think
to
there
keep
is
them a little more disciplined. So it goes both. It goes around. It goes hand in hand.
there is some responsibility on the coaches from the standpoint of 7 games in, if it's still not coming, if the players still are not able to take that instruction, you might need to change the way you're teaching it, right? Something's not connecting there. But one of the things I do want to talk a little bit about what Les
By
said
the way, they
earlier.
only committed 2 or 3 penalties.
Yeah, I mean, that Virginia
Between
Tech
that
game was a
yeah.
complete
That's
penalty
an anomaly. Yeah,
We had been
anomaly, sure.
the best team in the ACC on penalties before that game,
Right.
and we're good again this week. Unfortunately, we turned it over before
Yeah.
we make some penalties. But I do want to talk a little bit about this, because I mean, like that 3rd and 13, I actually tweet about this, and we have been awful this year on 3rd and long and 4th and long. And that drive, we also get up a 4th and 9. That critical drive at the end of the half against North Carolina, they convert like a 4th and 12. Like we've been bad on those situations. But that 3rd and 13, I'm 100% sure that was a player issue, because you saw the linebacker bail and then not stop at the first down line and keep running backwards. He was double teaming the tight end 25 yards up the field and left the whole middle of the field open. There's no way that's the play call. He was supposed to protect the first down line. That's what you do in those situations. Because this is one of the things that actually frustrates me about commentators when they throw to a receiver like 2 yards short of the first down. Like, well, why didn't he run to the first down? As if the defense doesn't know where the first down line is too. They're letting him catch it there. If he goes 2 yards further, that's where the defender is.
Right.
So, like, that was not the play call, was not to just let him check down to the running back and run for 20 yards. Like, they busted the assignment. He followed the tight end up and didn't hand him off correctly. And we've seen a lot of issues with that. We saw on the 4th down on that drive too, where there's just a miscommunication. We have one guy handing it off to another guy that's not there, or they both cover the same guy and leave space open. So whatever's going on with that, those aren't the calls. In terms of the running touchdowns, I mean, one of them was that 3rd and 9 where, frankly, we should have made the stop on 3rd and goal from the 9. There's no excuse for that. The other one, I mean, I hate to go back to it, but James Williams had him at the 2-yard line if he used his arms instead of throwing a shoulder into him.
Right.
So, like, I mean, again, if you want to talk about the play call, that putting guys in position to make the tackle is all the coach can do. They got to make the actual tackle. Now, I will say, I know Cristobal, and I appreciate this and I respect him for it. He's not going to publicly come out and say these kids quit. They quit. You could see it. They stopped running. They were doing simple plays in that 4th quarter and just going right around us. Like, let me go off tackle on 3rd and 6, and no one ran to chase him down. Like, and I'm sure Cristobal saw it on tape, as Blue said. They heard about it, I'm sure, in practice. But he's not going to come out publicly and be like, yeah, this kid quit or that kid quit. No one will respect a leader that does that.
No. And I know that behind the scenes, and the coaches were laying into the players and getting loud and getting in their face and screaming and doing what football coaches do, right? If you're a player, you're playing at a Division I football program, okay, and you don't do your job and you don't execute, guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to get reamed. That's part of college football. And if you're going to sit there, you're going to complain, oh my gosh, and cry to whoever it is that you're going to cry to, okay?
I mean,
and
we
then
saw the tweet, dude.
Yeah, you're going to have them do your ugly work for you. You're going to have your parent. What does that tell you about those players? Whoever it is, right, that it's happening to.
Well, I do think it's a little bit different that in the past, I don't think this is abnormal for a player to, like, get up with their coach and tell their parents. I think in the past, the parent would come back and say, shut up and go listen to your coach. And now they go on Twitter and say they're mistreating my boy. And it's like an embarrassment for everyone.
It is.
but
I will tell you who it's not an embarrassment for. It's not an embarrassment for Coach Cristobal, because he just doesn't care. He doesn't care. No,
and I think from a leadership standpoint, you don't want a player that's out in the media saying, yeah, these kids quit, or that's why he's talking. He's taking responsibility. He's like, yeah, this is going to be a major problem. You know what he's thinking. He's like, these kids got to go. but you don't want a coach coming out and saying that. So he's, doing, basically running interference for the kids. And then at the end of the year, he's going to have some conversations with them about, continuing their career somewhere else. I mean, that's basically what's headed.
Yeah, I like what's put up with SoCal. Says the percentage of our players of our team is soft. We need to get players that refuse to lose and win or do whatever it takes to win at all costs within the rules. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you nailed it, and that's the kind of players that Coach Cristobal wants on this team.
Yeah, and
Um,
nobody's saying anything the way Oregon's playing this year.
Yeah.
And a lot of those kids were his. You know, they're the ones that set the table for that.
Blue, someone tweeted out that Oregon is on year 5 with Mario. So Dan Lanning is on year 5 with Mario Cristobal players, and,
Yeah.
or vice versa. And Mario's on year 4 with
Yeah.
or year 5 with Manny Diaz's players. How's that working out?
Yeah, well, it's a valid point, right? I mean, it's a valid point, and I mean that's why when I listen to people, and I get frustrated because of the fact that a lot of these fans don't understand. They really don't understand the process, what's going on. But you know what? That 95% of the people don't do what I do. So I can't say that, well, they should think like me, but I don't expect them to. Because, if I watch like a hockey or basketball and I have like instincts to say this and that, what do I know? I mean, I'm just a fan. And I don't expect myself to know. Oh, by the way, Aaron Judge may go to the Dodgers. How about that?
Oh, well, the Dodgers, whatever, they find a way to screw it up anyways, don't they?
Yeah.
Man, I got a question for you, Blue. I want you to answer this. What Trey just put out here. There's no fire on the sidelines from the coaches. It's like they don't have relationships with the players to coach them up. Number one, do you agree with that? And number
That's
two,
hearsay.
That's hearsay. I don't know if I agree with that anyways.
Because Mario Cristobal is the most pumped up guy the entire game. I mean, you and I watched him in the pregame against who I guess Southern Miss or whatever, and you even said, "Damn, look at him! He's going everywhere." He's like that throughout the entire game. And if you notice, and his coaches do, I mean, are we just sitting there watching? I don't think when they pan the sidelines that I ever see a coach long enough to tell that he's not doing this or that, right? I mean, how long? I mean, that's an assumption made, I guess, in general, because how many times do you really see a spotlight on one of the coaches and give him a long enough to make that judgment? In my opinion, I mean, the coaches have no fire, they got no relationship with kids. How can you tell that in a 2-second clip?
The other thing I would say is this is why culture changes are hard, because quite frankly, it's been acceptable to lose here for a long time. So it's fine to say, like, we need win at all costs, refuse to lose stuff. That ain't the program right now. And it hasn't been. So you have kids that were recruited to not be in that, to be honest. Like, some of them came here because Manny does not run a tight ship. They came here to have fun.
Good point.
They didn't sign up for this.
That's my point.
And so when you talk about kind of a disconnect, yes, some of these kids culturally do not fit with what Mario wants to do. And that's where they're going to go. Some of them went already before the year started. Some of them are still here. You're not going to have 60 players leave in the season. No. I mean, so it's going to take time. It might about culture year. Change.
No, that's right.
When you talk about culture change, this is why it's hard. Like, it's hard to imagine two coaches with different styles as far apart as Mario Cristobal's no nonsense and Manny Diaz's whatever you want to call some of that was. But, like, I mean, we're not going to have a tackling dummy that says 7-5 on it and do like an Instagram show for the fans. Like, that ain't going to happen here. Like, this is a completely, and when we still complain about some of the stuff, like, how come they're always running the social media? That's the program they signed up to play at. And that's not the coach anymore, but that's definitely the coach when they came here.
Yep.
Right? I mean, this is, again, I wasn't joking. He literally put Tate Martell into a bowl game because they asked for it on Twitter. The kid had not practiced or played with the team for several months, and he looked like it when he went in there. It's just like, this is a different program than was it. So in a way, this is bad, but I'm almost sympathetic to the kids because they didn't sign up for this either.
Yeah,
but, but it's like this is where the program's headed, and it's going to be difficult for some of them are not going to be able to adjust. And what you're seeing is a lot of that.
I want to answer this question again from Trey, the Mario one with Willie Taggart. So if you can put that up there really quick, because I want everybody's take on this one. Mario won with Willie Taggart players. His last year would have been a full 4-year recruiting cycle. Mario never wanted Bo Nix, and he looks must improve. Number one, first things first. Let's just say, hypothetically, he won with Willie Taggart's players were there when Mario got in there. Number one, Mario went 4-8 his first year with Willie Taggart's players. Okay. Then when he got his first year recruiting, right? He brought in some more of his players. Then the second year, he brought more of his players in. Oh, by the way, he won a Rose Bowl. Okay. So and we're talking about, okay, this is going to be a full cycle, 4 years, whatever the case is. Forget about the Bo Nix trash. I don't care about that. But we're talking about recruiting cycles. We're talking about this is a 4-year recruiting cycle. Let's just say that's the case. So he had 4 years and he was productive and he won a Rose Bowl and he won a couple Pac-12s or Pac-10, whatever it is over there. We're talking about he doesn't have control of this football program and the coaching sucks and this, that, and the other already. And it's the 7th game of the first year for Mario Cristobal. So what are we even talking about here when we're saying this? What are we talking about? He won with Willie Taggart's players. He went 4-8 with Willie Taggart's players his first year. Or did we forget about that? We're just going to throw that out and say, well, that doesn't really count because it's Willie Taggart's players. Oh, but then he won with Willie Taggart's players. So which one is it? I'm not understanding why we keep saying that Mario won with other people's players and now he has to. I don't get it. It's not the same. First of all, you can't compare. Okay, you don't understand. The culture is completely different. This is a completely different thing that we're talking about here. And if we're going to mention that he won with Willie Taggart's players, he had a whole entire 4 years to be successful, which he was in Oregon.
Yeah, so he didn't actually go 4-8. So he won 9 games his first year and then won the Rose Bowl. And I think people are I'm not surprised our fans aren't up on Oregon history though. That program was a dumpster when he came there. Willie Taggart was there for 1 year. What do you mean his players?
Right.
He quit after 1 year, winning 7 games. Mario
Terrible
elevated that program.
class.
Yeah,
he was next to last in the Pac-12 in the recruiting class.
He was only there a year. What do you mean his players? Like he was barely even there. He didn't even have a full recruiting cycle. And the program that Willie Taggart inherited, the reason he got the hell out of there, Mark Helfrich destroyed that program.
Oh, yeah.
They won 4 games his last year and he got fired. Willie Taggart saw how bad it was and got out of there. Mario fixed that program. That program was in trouble. People think there's like a straight line from Chip Kelly to Mario. No, that thing went in the toilet. So, I mean, to be determined what happens here, but like he rebuilt that Oregon program. So I don't know what exactly you expect him to do there and how you're giving Willie Taggart, I was there for 6 months, credit for anything. But I mean, even Willie Taggart wouldn't take credit for anything at Oregon. So I think you guys are misremembering history a little bit if you think that like Willie Taggart had anything to do with what Mario did at Oregon.
I must have misremembered history too, because I'm pretty sure I thought he mentioned that he went 4-8 1 year at Oregon.
No, maybe on the staff. Was he on Helfrich's staff? Because Helfrich went 4-8.
I think he inherited a 4-8 team.
Well, Willie Taggart did. It was 4-8.
That's what he said.
Helfrich went 4-8 and got fired. Willie Taggart went 7-6 and got the hell out of there.
Whatever it was.
Then Mario won 9 games, won the Rose Bowl.
Okay. That's what the 4-8 was.
Won the Pac-12 again and lost the Fiesta Bowl. So that was a 3-year arc.
Gotcha.
And he had them in BCS Bowls the last 2 years and won the Pac-12. Finished a spot out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right.
But let's talk about.
Yeah, but I don't think Willie Taggart gets credit for that.
Willie Taggart's players.
How's it working out for Willie at FAU now? He may be 2 and done there.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good. Florida State's paying him well, so.
Yeah, well, isn't Oregon still paying him too?
I don't think Oregon has.
USF could be still paying him.
Yeah, Oregon he left voluntarily.
He's like the Bobby Bonilla of college football, huh?
Yes, he is.
All these checks show up.
Well, I was going to say, or the Al Golden, one of the other.
Al Golden, right? Al Golden's not doing such a great job at Notre Dame either, is he? On that defense. Moving along, one thing that we wanted to mention, because Vish, we said we were going to talk about this a little bit, is the quarterback position. Obviously, we know that I guess the crappiest thing that came out of that game was that TVD went down with an injury. It looks like his shoulder. Don't want to.
I mean,
but it looks like it's a shoulder. He may be out a little bit.
Well, I mean, I don't know that this isn't a situation like if you saw what NC State did a few weeks ago, where the kid is out for the year and they knew it and they just didn't announce it until the day of the game.
Right.
I wouldn't, because this whole like his arm is sore, we'll see stuff does not inspire me confidence that, because he didn't say, let's see how he practices. He's got to go. I have a distinct feeling he might be longer term than we're let on, but we don't know. So like Chad said, don't speculate after I speculated.
We don't know, but he's going to be out for a long time. No, but I think the question is, we got to see a little bit of Jake Garcia. And I know that some people get really excited when Jake Garcia comes into the game. And Blue Fish, he just doesn't look ready, right? He didn't look ready on a lot of it. Yeah, he's made some really nice throws when he had some protection when and some people have mentioned this when they do film review. When Miami leaves a back in to block and they have max protect, yeah, of course you're gonna have some more time to throw the football around, and you see that anybody can really make a nice throw, right? Anybody can
Yeah.
throw when you have max protection. But to give him credit, he did make some nice throws, right? On that touchdown pass to Will Mallory, on the touchdown pass to Kobe Young, even though he broke a tackle and went 70 yards. But either way, it's a nice throw. He made us some nice throws, but then you saw him revert back to just kind of trying to take too many risks and turning the ball over, whether it's the sack, the fumble, the strip sack fumble, or the interceptions. A lot of people obviously are not convinced or confident in anything now with with TVD out. A lot of people before the season started thought that maybe Jay Garcia should have been in a quarterback competition. We clearly saw TVD as the best quarterback on this team. However, you did notice that we had some packages for Jakari Brown in this game, and although we have not seen him throw the ball yet, he looks like one of the most exciting and explosive guys on that offense. Just off of some of the plays that he ran, I know some of the stuff was kind of whatever. He hit the back of the line and whatnot. But you saw even on some of the runs that he was able to break for 7-8 yards. I think he had an 11-yard run on one of those plays. You see his athleticism. You see his style of play is exciting, right? He kind of reminds you of some of these other quarterbacks that can kind of move around a little bit. That are more athletic. There's a ton of them, obviously, in the league. You can mention some of the guys that we saw play last week. The kid over at Alabama, Bryce Young, Malik Cunningham. Some of these guys that are really athletic quarterbacks that are really good. He kind of fits that type of mold. And, yeah, he can throw the ball around a little bit. So the question is, right, do we see more Jakari Brown? Although I think Mario Cristobal has already mentioned that it's Jake Garcia, right? Jake Garcia is the next man up. But we may see more Jakari Brown.
Yeah.
Would you be excited? Would you be open? Because I'm under the thought process that I'm not counting out Jakari Brown next year at all, and not even this year for the next however many games TVD may be out. To really get significant playing time, because at this point, it's going to be tough to be bowl eligible with a team that's struggling this much, and now you lose your potential first round quarterback for an extended amount of time. Are you excited about the opportunity to see what Jakari Brown can kind of do, or do you kind of want to stick to the whole let's just see Jake Garcia, try to continue to develop and make better plays and just be the quarterback from moving forward? Because look, at the end of the day, some of those plays that they ran with Jakari Brown, and Vish, you mentioned this. Why not run it with Jake Garcia? He's a very athletic guy too. He can move around a lot. He's got good legs, right? Why not just do it with him? No, they did it with Jakari Brown instead. So moving forward now, let's say the UVA game. What do you want to see from these quarterbacks?
First of all, is this not the first time in his career that that Jake Garcia is going to be seeing significant time as the number one player going into the game? So he, in all these rest of these games, he came in relief, and he really didn't run with the ones. That's all he's going to be doing this week. So I think we gotta let's wait and see what happens when he gets a full week of running with the number one unit, in practice. I think there's a lot to be said for that. To answer your Jakari Brown question, he's a stud, no doubt. And there's packages that you need to get him in there. And sooner or later, he's going to throw the ball, and we'll see what he's got. But he's one snap, just one injury away from being in the same situation as Jake Garcia was. So, yeah, I'm sure they're going to give him a lot of reps in practice, a lot more than he's gotten in the past. But I'm anxious to see what Jake Garcia does as a starter and having 1 week of reps with the number ones only. And he hasn't had that. He's always working. He maybe at the end of practice, he'll work a couple of series with ones, but now he's a primary guy. And I want to see how he's going to respond to that. I think he'll have a little bit more familiarity. You just can't stick somebody out and all of a sudden they'll have a great relationship with your receivers or know where this guy is going to be. See, that's the one thing that Tyler's had is he's had that awareness and had that experience of knowing where these guys are going to be, or where Will Mallory was going to be, or where Brashard Smith was going to be, because he knows from repetitions in practice that, okay, well, on this down, this is a 3rd and 8, and we have these 2 play calls, and this is where Brashard's going to be. See, now Jake hasn't had that opportunity.
Real quick.
He says Jake isn't mobile. I don't think Tyler Van Dyke runs a 4.4 either.
First of all, I disagree that Jake is more. First, he's not Jakari Brown mobile, but he's definitely more mobile than TVD was. We saw some of the plays where he was able to get out last year and run for some yardage. That play that he broke his leg. I mean, he was gone, right, for some time. Then he got tackled from behind. But I kind of disagree with what Manuel Soto said here at the end. Don't put Brown in with this O-line. I think this is the type of O-line that might be better for a guy like Brown, right? They can't hold their blocks anyways. So this is the type of O-line that you need a mobile quarterback to get out of the pocket, because sometimes this pocket is caving in and you have no time to move up in the pocket or get out of it. Jakari, and of course I'm saying that tongue in cheek, but because we haven't seen Jakari Brown throw the football or anything like that. But I don't think either way this O-line is just not performing really well anyway. So
I think we got to prepare to play them both. We're gonna need, because of the offensive line. This is not a knock on Jake Garcia. He doesn't. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious he does not have. Yeah, he should be sharper, having practiced all week as the one with the ones, but he doesn't have TVD's arm talent either. And we basically, this offense, as much as everyone is, ripping Gaddis, he's evolved this offense over the season, right? Because we were able to, when we had the offensive line healthy, we were able to run. And actually, at that point, TVD couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Remember, you all benched him. So that was, we were a running team that was having to, and against A&M, the only thing we were able to do was run the ball.
Right.
And then it flipped, and he evolved with it to the point that by the time Garcia gets into this game, we are essentially a pass first, throw it all over the field team, because that's all we could really do, because we couldn't run block. That's not a good offense for Garcia. He actually, what we were running earlier in the year probably fits him a little better.
Yeah, exactly.
But we don't have that. The offensive line is too injured now. A lot of the guys that were opening those holes are not on the field right now.
Yep.
So,
and by the way, guys like Ja'Kai Clark, that are playing are, believe it or not, he's really injured. He's struggling right now.
Yeah,
he had to play because we didn't have nobody.
Yeah, we ran out with his backup got hurt, who was the guy actually playing. We had to sub him in there with on a half, a half fit. I mean, we're out of players.
Right.
So, to me, trying to run that offense with Garcia is a disservice to Garcia. He doesn't have the arm talent to do that. We don't want him throwing 57 times TVD did against North Carolina. Yeah. So Gas is gonna have to probably.
And it's not a knock on Garcia. He's just a different.
No, but we don't want anyone to have to run that offense. This is a last resort offense because we can't run the ball. Who wants to throw it 60 times? No one wants to do that. That's not good offense. It's what we were forced to do because we literally, as everyone's so quick to point out, cannot even run for 1 yard. Yeah. Well, then you have to throw on basically every play, which is what we evolved into, and then the quarterback gets injured, and that's not a good offense for Garcia. So I think we got to figure out ways for him to use his legs. We probably got to do more option stuff, although we tried to run an option against Duke and no one blocked. I've never seen no one block.
Jake on that option. Screw it.
Yeah, just tuck it into the nose tackle and take your 1 yard loss. I've never seen anything like that. But,
that was bad.
But so we're gonna have to, and I think we do need Jakari Brown to have a couple of series where we script some plays for him, where he can just bring something else. Because frankly, if it's not TVD, we're gonna have to find points somehow.
Right.
So if there's 10 plays Jakari Brown runs well, we need a package for him, give him a series and let him run those 10 plays. That's where we're at this point. Because the biggest thing, and we've talked about this all show, the offensive line can't block, which means we cannot run, and it's limited what pass plays you can call too. That's going to hamstring anyone, and we're in trouble because of that. In terms of, just real quick on this.
Which part? Come on, Manuel. So I'm not even paying attention.
Well, but I get what he's. I just want to address the second half.
I get it. I get you.
Like, we don't need to redshirt him. Like, he's not going to be a fifth-year senior in 2026 starting here.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen anymore. So don't even worry about that. Like, if he takes a red shirt now, it'll be to enter the portal. Like, that's when kids redshirt in the middle of the season. Like, I'm not going to play here. I want to save my year for myself. He's not going to redshirt, sit on the bench, or either one of two things are going to happen if we redshirt him or not. He's either going to compete for the post TVD starting job and win it, or he's going to transfer. Let's be real. That is how the game works now. They don't sit there. Exactly. So redshirting him doesn't do anything because he'll be starting well before that extra year is needed. And frankly, he'll leave and go pro or whatever. He's not going to start at the same school for 4 years. Right. So like that doesn't happen anymore. They either transfer out in the portal if they can't go pro, or they go pro. Like he's not. No one on this roster is going to be our starting quarterback in 2026. Right. So we don't need to redshirt anyone.
Yeah, and that last question, who's going to start next year? That's a question for next year. I have no idea.
But also, I wouldn't rule out our current starter who wears number 9 being back.
Let's worry about
if he actually does not come back and play this year. He hasn't had the greatest year. He's come on lately, and everyone already forgot that he was struggling earlier in the year. And now it's like, oh my God, we lost the quarterback who I tried to bench 2 weeks ago. But
that would get really interesting.
I think if he comes back, he's the starter. I don't think.
No, I'm just saying for everybody else behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, UVA, real quick before we get on out of here, not a very good team.
So I did look it up. Gary had it at -3. It's 2.5 now. It's from the best I could see. Miami favorite. There's not a lot of lines out there. I wonder if they're holding it because of TVD.
Yeah,
but it was hard for me to find the line. But the ones I did find were us favored by 2.5.
Yeah, so basically it's a push right now.
Yeah, because you get 3 for home, so technically they think we're better, which might be the case. Race to the bottom there.
Yeah, we might be, but Virginia is not very good. I thought they were actually going to be better with Brennan Armstrong back and that wide receiver core that they had. They've been mediocre at best, and Brennan Armstrong hasn't had a great season from what I can tell, but it's still a dangerous UVA team nonetheless, right?
Yep.
We're going up to Charlottesville with a team that's hurt. It's riddled with injuries. I mean, this could be another one of those Virginia Tech style games, if you ask me, where we kind of get out and not even maybe I don't even know. I don't know what kind of game this is going to be.
It's tough to tell, isn't it? But Miami needs to go 3-2 over the last 5 games, or they don't make a bowl. And I know if they don't make a bowl, then watch out. You know, I mean,
and this is a must-win for that because you're
this
definitely
is a huge win.
You're definitely losing to Clemson, so that's one loss. So you got to go
Florida
3-1.
Florida State's not going to be easy.
Yeah, and you look, Florida State and Pitt are at home, but those are tough.
Yeah, very
tough. You almost
tough.
have to win at Virginia, at Georgia Tech.
Definitely.
And then win one of Florida State and Pitt is probably the way to get 3 wins. So yeah,
I agree.
It's gonna be tough.
I mean, I'll give my opinion this week. Last week I had 28-24, and it kind of looked like it was going to be that way until Miami started giving the ball away. And I still think, and I told you that if Duke gets into the 30s, Miami's got no chance of beating them because they just don't have that type of offense to score that much. Now, however, this week, a little bit different. A Virginia team that, first year Coach Elliott's a good guy, and he's done he comes from a great lineage as well. I just don't see, I think it's going to be one of those last possession type. I think Miami takes it by about 28-24, just like last week.
Yeah.
I thought it would be last week.
I don't think they dominate at all.
No,
not at all. I think they're obviously the more talented team, quote unquote, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
they have more talented players.
It's got to be. Yeah. The defense needs to win this game. Virginia scored 34 points in their opener against Richmond. They've only scored exactly 20 one other time. Everything else is below 20 points, even in their wins.
Right.
If the defense gives up a lot of points, we're going to lose because. But the offense, whatever it is going to be worse than it was under TVD. So, we got to try and get into the low 20s. Like I said, that's why I was saying put Jacurri in for a package. We need to find points somewhere. Just find ways to get to 20 points, and the defense has to hold them under 20. They have not been scoring, and it can't be against us that they all of a sudden put up 30 points.
Yeah, if they don't win this game, they're not going to a bowl.
Yeah, no,
they're
this
really
is a
not.
must win.
I
They're
agree.
not.
I agree.
This is a must win.
I agree.
Yeah, Virginia also, Georgia Tech also quarterback got injured, and that backup was a train wreck. So in that
Now
game,
we're
again,
Georgia Tech as an ACC power. I mean, no, I mean,
well, I mean, Les is pointing at teams that have similar records to ours. So, but I think, to that point, Virginia still with that defensive dominance only scored 16 points in that game. Like the defense has got to shut them down. Yeah. Like Virginia Tech's first 3 quarters were for the whole game. Like if we have to ask this offense to score 30 points with a backup quarterback and half the offensive line missing, it's not going to happen.
But we don't want Virginia to beat us on a field goal. That means somebody from down here would have beaten us. They're kickers from Gulliver Prep. So
he missed several field goals last week. So
I know, I saw that.
So of course he'll make them this week. But that's the way it's bouncing for us this year.
We'll finish it with this question: what would a loss against FSU do to recruiting and transfer portal, or even a loss this week to Virginia? It won't do anything. It won't do anything. If anything, I'm not saying it'll help, but nobody's going anywhere.
No, I'll say here's what has happened, right? So in terms of the on-field impact, had we somehow come out and won a bunch of games and we're undefeated right now, our ceiling would have raised. This was more in line with where the program was expected to be, and at this point, anyone that was going to be like, "Oh, they're losing games, I'm bailing," would have bailed. No one bailed.
I agree.
You're not going to hit lower points than like Middle Tennessee. So
no.
So no one's going to be, "Oh, and you lost to Virginia." Like at that point, anyone that was going to be impacted by that left. So none of our big time kids did because they knew what they were signing up for. So,
that is correct.
So that's why it's not that on field doesn't matter. I feel like if we went into A&M and won that game and turned that into a win the next week, and we actually had won a bunch of games, you could then
have more commits now.
Yeah, you'd be able to say, look. You can tell we're laying the foundation. The proof is on the field. Instead, we're still having to sell the hypothetical, which is what he sold these kids in the first place. So
you got it. We'll let you guys know if we're going to do a pre or post game. I'm not sure.
I would say probably doubtful. The arm hurts. We'll see.
Yeah, it's sore.
Yeah.
Right now.
Might have to go to the bullpen on that.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at 6ringscanes. We're here every Monday night at 8:30 p.m. on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube network. Yes, he is. What was I saying before I lost?
You have to do prize picks before we leave?
Yeah, I guess we'll do prize picks. Let's give a shout out to prize picks and then we'll sign off here. There it is. Prizepicks.com, baby. Make sure you go, when you go check it out, log in, sign up. They will match your first deposit. Make sure you use the code 5, F-I-V-E, when you sign up. It's real simple. It's all depending on how much money you want to make. What's great about it is that you can decide what players from what leagues, from what teams you want to play with. Okay, so you can mix and match the guys from the NFL, from the NBA, hockey, college football, you name it, you can mix and match. You pick anywhere between 2 to 5 players. Okay, then you choose the over/under on their individual categories. That's how you win. So make sure you sign up. Use the code 5, F-I-V-E. PrizePicks will match your initial deposit up to $100. You don't have to use it all at once, and you can mix and match players between 2 and 5 players, all depending on how much money you want to make. Choose the over/under on their individual categories and see you make that paper, baby. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com, sign up, code word 5, F-I-V-E, and start winning some cash.
Good stuff.
Appreciate the love from everybody on the chat. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you subscribe to the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Smash the like button on here. And, of course, check us out every Monday.
Oh, we should say before we sign off, if you guys didn't see this, somehow the Florida State game is in prime time on ABC. So,
really?
It's at 7:30 on ABC. It's on network TV.
Unbelievable.
Don't be afraid to throw us under the bus.
Indeed. So it should be a good tailgate.
7:30 or at 8 o'clock?
No, 7:30 on ABC.
That's probably your Miami Knights game too.
Yeah, I wonder how much juice Adidas had to you got to put a game at night because we got to put these jerseys on.
How pissed off Mario Cristobal is that he has to wear those damn uniforms.
against
Yeah,
against
no
Florida
idea.
State.
Florida State.
You know he wants to wear orange against
Oh,
FSU.
yeah.
He's
Oh,
dying
yeah.
inside.
Oh man. Again, thank you guys for joining us on the show. Make sure you continue to check us out every Monday at 8:30 p.m. here on the 5 Reasons Sports channel. And if you ever have any questions, if you ever have anything you want to share with us, make sure you DM us or shoot us a message over on Twitter at 6RingsCane.
I gotta share this because it's hilarious. No more ballet sports.
Ballet sports. Oh God.
Ballet sports is this weekend's game though, so
Yeah, one
check
more
your
ballet.
local listings.
One more ballet sports for you, Trey. Check us out, Blue, Vish. Always a pleasure. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks.
Later.
Laters.
The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show. Ha ha.